welcome to Be the Light. I'm Denise Rizzonia, your show host, and today I am excited to bring you our guest, David Rue, who is a certified academic life coach for teens. That's kind of a mouthful. Before we get started with David, I did just want to real quickly thank our show sponsors today, Hamilton County Television, Jim Wofford, and the Wofford Theater, and we're so glad that you guys can join us. So welcome, David.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So let's start off by talking about this title, Certified Academic Life Coach for Teens. Like I said, that's kind of a mouthful. Can you kind of tell us what that means?
Absolutely. I know it's kind of confusing, but one of the things I am not, I'll start off with that way, I'm not a counselor or a therapist or a consultant.
Okay.
So let me explain. What I do is really all about self-discovery for teens, helping teens discover who they are and actually putting some things in action when they learn about themselves. So what they learn, and then we take that and put it into action so that they grow. So it's really all about movement and action. And really, I think what we all want for our teens is for them to really own their life, to really own who they are and where they're going in life. And that's pretty much my vision. And so I think I can relate to a lot of parents who have teenagers. I have teens myself. And I think it's one of the toughest jobs on the earth is to help them navigate life. And so I experienced the stress that they experience. I experienced the academic struggles. I experienced the communication issues or the lack of motivation or organization. And so I think like any parent, we're always looking for solutions to help that. And so I want to come alongside parents and help their teens navigate life successfully.
Okay. And so when you say here academic life coach, what specifically is different there when you say academic versus a regular everyday life coach?
Well, it's done in the context. Most kids are in school, so I'm addressing a lot of specific needs when it comes to stress with school, grades, or just relationships.
Okay.
The other areas that I address are disorganization or lack of motivation, and that could be in anything in life, but a lot of times with school. So, like,
I've never seen a teen that's not motivated.
So there's also a lot of anxiety for the older teens about college. Okay. So I want to help in lowering that stress and that anxiety as well. So it's giving them confidence, it's giving them life skills, it's actually helping them clarify a little bit more their future and their direction.
Awesome. Well, you guys know I'm all about advocating for our teens and our young people, so I think this is just really awesome, and I'm so glad that you're able to come on and tell us today some of what you're doing. You know that I'm very excited about the work that you do, and I strongly recommend that people take a look at what you're up to, which, speaking of which, while we're mentioning that, what is your website where they can go get more information?
Yeah, it's davidruecoaching.com.
You better spell that.
It's DAVID, I know, ROUX coaching.com.
Okay, cool, thanks. So now, how did you get into this line of work?
I, for the last 18 years or so, I've been on staff with an organization called Crew, and where I was actually mentoring and developing college students every summer. And while I was working with the college students, I saw in the last 5 years or so while I was working with them that there were these gaps happening, gaps in what they were learning in school and what was useful for life.
Right.
And so some of the things that I talked about earlier were some of those gaps. And that's when I came across academic life coaching. And really, academic life coaching was started by John Andrew Williams. He lives in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
He was a teacher, saw the same gaps 10 years ago, and said, I'm done teaching. And he put a whole curriculum together to help students navigate life successfully. And that's when I was like, that's what I want to do. Left my job and went out on my own, got trained under him, brought it to Indiana.
Okay. So is there a specific age group that you're working with then?
Basically, it can be, I'm working right now anywhere from an 8th grader to college age students.
Okay.
So I have clients from 8th grade on up to college.
Okay. So what kind of services do you offer to your clients?
That's a great question. There's a lot of different ways that I can work with people. One of them is simply one-on-one coaching, where I work with your teen over a 5-month period. It's 11 sessions, and we work through a curriculum called the Academic Life Coaching Workbook. So that's one way. A second way is group class coaching. So if your teen would rather go through this process with his or her peers, I would gather 7 to 10 students, and we would walk through that process in a group setting, and that would be like 8 weeks long.
Okay, so like an after-school type
Like an
deal.
after-school type deal.
Okay.
A third way is actually for schools. If a school wants an after-school program where their kids are learning some of these skills, I can provide that.
Okay.
Where it's 10 weeks long, 2 hours after school on their school property, and basically helping them improve student life, prepare them for their future and prepare them for school, or for college, I mean. I would walk through the same curriculum, but in that context.
Okay, so am I understanding you correctly then on your second option, basically any group that would want to use that service could?
Yes.
Okay, because I can see how that could be excellent for different types of groups. So.
Absolutely. The third one I mentioned was very specifically a school would
Right.
want me to come in and be an after-school program.
Okay.
So, and then there's actually a couple other ways, and that is if parents want some specific help, I would offer 5 sessions over 2 months to work with parents to help them coach their kid themselves.
Okay.
So basically helping them have an influence in their kid's life. So I can do that. And the other thing is I love to partner with organizations that already have the demographic of parents and teens built in. So Indy Premier Soccer Club is one example. I work with them. They bring me in to do all kinds of free presentations to their parents, and their parents learn something. So it sets their organization apart as another way to help kids become stronger and better.
Absolutely. Yeah, makes perfect sense. So why does what you're doing work?
There's actually 4 reasons why it works.
Okay.
One is it's a program that's individualized. So think about a classroom setting in school where you're giving a lot of information, the same information to a lot of people. This is, I'm taking the kid out of the classroom and I am listening to who they are and trying to tailor the program to them and have them come up with action steps that they can grow in themselves. So it's very individualized. 2, relationship. It's done in the context of relationship. So there's something powerful where I work with a kid over 5 months versus just one time.
Right.
A third reason is space. In today's world, our kids, I think, are moving so fast, primarily because of technology. Our world just keeps getting faster and faster, and they don't have the time to slow down and just think and go, what do I think about my life? What do I want to do? Where do I need to change and grow and develop? So I give them that space. And then just simply what I've seen. You know, when a kid develops some tools to get their grades better, stress goes down. When they develop more self-awareness, stress goes down because they know what they like and what they don't like. And then when they develop some sort of personal fluency or what's called emotional intelligence, like they know who they are, they know how to fill out a college application a little bit better, which is what colleges are looking for. So I just think the key word for me is ownership. When I see a kid develop ownership, they feel more confident and they know where they're going.
Excellent. Well, I absolutely love that. That's awesome. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break here, and we'll be back in just a moment.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Welcome back to Be the Light. I'm Denise Rizonia, your show host, and we are filming here live at the Wofford Theater in Noblesville. I want to thank our show sponsors today, Hamilton County Television, Jim Wofford, and the Wofford Theater. And since I seem to always forget to mention it, and people keep telling me to mention it, I am an author, and if you would like to see more about what I'm doing, you can check out my website, which is denisemrizonia.com, DENISEMREZSONYA.com. Stop staring at me. See, now you're doing what Jim usually does. There we go. All right. So, anyway, getting back to what we were talking about here with Mr. David Rue, why don't we dive right in with your contact information, David?
All right. DavidRueCoaching.com is my website.
You got to spell Rue again, man.
R-O-U-X. That's R-O-U-X. R-O-U-X. Again. Oh, R-O-U-X.
You can read it right off the screen.
I can I?
Okay.
And phone number 317-661-1943.
Okay. What about email? Do you want people to
And
email?
email is david@davidruecoaching.com. R-O-U-X again. So, there you have it.
Okay, awesome. So now everybody knows how to get a hold of David. I can say honestly that, I've posted several different posts that you've had up and kind of kept an eye on it. And there's definitely a lot of interest. I've had a lot of questions from parents about this. I myself have a teenage daughter, as most of you know. And so I do understand firsthand some of the challenges that you're facing with teenagers. I'm very active in our school here, and I see a lot of what's going on. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and I definitely see the need for it. What would you say is the number one complaint or concern that you're hearing from the kids themselves?
The kids themselves.
Yes.
Stress with school. Stress over grades. Stress over being organized.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of feeling overwhelmed.
Okay.
With school or just grades. So I hear it's like, and how do I stay organized? Or the second thing would be, just I'm not making great decisions. I'm working with a couple students. It's like, I just need to be making better decisions with my life. I'm not choosing that very well. So,
Okay. So do you help them then put like an organizational system in process?
Yeah. So we'll sit down and we'll talk about where they're struggling, where they're wrestling, and then we'll go, okay, so what do you think will work system-wise to help you get there?
Okay, so help give them some ownership
So
of it.
that's where I play out with them and say, okay, instead of me just telling you what to do,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions to help you discover what that system that works for you, because not every system works for the same for every kid.
Right.
So I need to say, what do you think? Well, and then they start to think, write it down, and then they start to put it down, and then they do it for 2 weeks. We come back and talk about it and see how it went.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool. That makes sense. So now also you have a resource that parents might not know about that I think personally is very helpful, and it is your blog talk radio show called Walk This Way, which is on bi-weekly, correct, on Sunday evenings
Yep.
at 6:30.
6:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Okay, Eastern Time. And the next one is going to be on 11:15, and it's going to be covering what you call simple, curious questions. Can you kind of expand on what that means?
Simple, curious questions. Well, along with what I just said earlier about helping kids own their own life, I think one of the most powerful things that we as parents can do is just simply, along with listening, ask questions. So you just kind of ask questions that are very open-ended, very questions that start with what or how, and let them talk. The more that they talk, the more that they learn and understand about themselves, and actually you learn as well.
Right.
And you can actually move forward with solving more problems or issues. So it might be as simple as like, what did you learn about yourself through that situation? Or what are you learning today? Or how did you feel when that happened to you? Very open-ended questions to get them talking and understanding who they are.
Okay. And I do, again, want to emphasize to the viewers that this is a really great resource. It's free, and it's available to you on Blog Talk Radio. His show is called Walk This Way. If you haven't listened to it yet, there are 2 previous episodes. I would recommend listening to those first to kind of help give you some background. I've listened to both of them and found the information very helpful. The one that I just listened to today was about listening skills, and I'm a little embarrassed to say where I fall on the listening skills. So
We all can work on it.
yeah,
Don't
I
worry.
definitely need some work, which I'm sure that my kids would agree with. But I certainly don't claim to be perfect, and we're all learning together as we go here. And that's the beautiful part about someone like David. David does understand. He's in the trenches here with you. He has teenagers and a whole lot of experience under his belt. So fantastic resource. So if people who are watching this or listening want more information, they want to contact you, talk about their child, kind of what would happen next in the process?
After they contact me,
Yes.
well, they'll contact me, and usually then I will sit down and talk with the parents. We'll set up a time for me and the parents to just talk about what they want to talk about when it comes to their teen.
So a consultation.
A consultation, and it's free.
Oh, free.
It's a free consultation with
Nice.
the parents. And
I like free.
if they feel like what we've talked about might be a good fit for their kid, then the next step is actually to set up an initial interview with their child.
Okay.
And it's to see if the child or if the teen feels like it's going to be a good fit, and if I feel like it's going to be a good fit. So, and that's usually that's $50 for that session, and we usually walk through a couple concepts from the book, and they learn who I am, I learn who they are, and we get to get comfortable with each other.
Okay. And then as you mentioned earlier, so should you proceed further into the process, then you custom tailor it based on that particular child's needs.
Yep, totally tailored to. It's all the same concepts that every kid walks through, but you can customize each one of those concepts for them.
Okay. And are you finding that the young people are pretty responsive to this?
Yeah, they're pretty responsive. There's been a few that I've said, no, it's not going to be a good fit. You know, when you sit down and do an initial interview, and a kid just sits there and looks over here the whole time, or up there, or down here.
So they're not giving you anything to work with.
They're not giving me anything to work with, so
Yeah.
usually I'll say it's not going to be a good fit. So, but if I feel like there's good interaction, it works really well, and they respond well. And here's the other thing I wanted to say about that is there's power in having another voice. A lot of times when I sit down with a kid and their parent together, the kid is like this, zip.
Right.
And as soon as the parent walks out the room, the kid just goes.
Right. Yeah.
So it works because of that as well. They're responsive because it's someone who's outside of that family.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I know that I've certainly seen that even in my own home. One more time before we wrap up this segment, would you please share your contact information with everyone?
One more time?
One more time.
One more time. DavidRouxCoaching.com. That's ROUX. That is my website. And then my email is david@davidrouxcoaching.com. And then my phone number is 317-661-1943.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have one of David's clients on to talk with us. Dun, dun, dun.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street signs and banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Welcome back to Be the Light. I am your show host, Denise Rizonia, and we are filming here live from the Wofford Theater in Hamilton County. I do want to thank our show sponsors today, Hamilton County Television, Jim Wofford, and the Wofford Theater. So now we are joined by Christy Bettner, who is a parent of one of the children that David has worked with. So thank you so much for joining us
You're
today.
welcome. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. Now, how is this a son or daughter?
A son.
Okay.
My oldest son. He's
And-
15.
15, okay. And so can you give us some idea of what type of work David did with your son?
I'd be very happy to.
Okay.
He worked with him for, his typical period of the time span that he, customizes to each kid. And it was really kind of just life-changing and in the right time for him because we had recently moved from North Carolina to here, and he was struggling with friendships and how to make his way here. And he's a very, every parent thinks your child is gifted and talented and has a lot to offer, but he was having a hard time, finding his way, getting stuck in just lack of self-confidence or how to navigate friendships and manage the stress of a new school and new environment. And so
some adjustment issues.
and so Dave was able to help just in areas of self-confidence and motivation and that movement he was talking about of moving him forward and visualizing his goals of where he wanted to be, not where he was today, which was tremendously helpful.
Okay. So what kind of benefits have you seen from your son then?
Well, most recently it was interesting. He took on himself that he wanted to go away to boarding school next year to a leadership academy.
Wow.
And he managed to set up the interviews and the meetings all on his own and just told me where and when to be. And I think of that, a lot of that comes from the work he did with Dave of knowing where he was gifted and where he might best make a difference, and
So self-confidence,
made that
and
happen.
ownership.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Yeah, and responsibility, and just that movement forward of visualizing where he wanted to be and making it happen.
Okay. Well, for those of you that watch the show, you know what a huge advocate I am of empowering young people. And so you're hitting every one of my buzzwords here. I'm getting really excited. Now you have a book here with you. Is this a workbook?
Yes, this is the workbook that Dave used to go through it with Andrew, and just I tried not to be too invasive of their of my son's information, but just in the table of contents you get to see going through the vision and the values and the future self and where they want to make a difference in the lives of their friends and who they are. What kind of learner they are, what kind of communicator they are. It's given my son information that you typically wouldn't have as a 15-year-old, to move forward.
Real life skills, which is excellent.
Right.
I mean, obviously that's something that is an area where they really are lacking and there's a need there. So then when your son would work with David, how did information get transferred back to you? Did David give you an update? Did your son give you an update?
I would get the 15-year-old update, which wasn't a whole lot. It was never as satisfying to me as I wanted it to be, and I would ask the open-ended questions, and I would get some, and I would get better at that, and my listening skills. But then David would send a summary from each session, which was really invaluable.
Okay. And so did that summary maybe then just give you some information that you could then go back and talk with your son about?
Right. Some action points and say, hey, what did you think about this? And your planning, and you talked about the 5 areas of wellness, and what did that look like for you, and where do you think we're doing as a family? And one interesting thing that came up from my son with our family is we, like to take trips or eat dinners together as much as possible, and his action point was spend a little less time together as a family. Okay, great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned this was your oldest child, so how many children do you have?
I have 3.
Okay.
I also have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Okay, so it sounds like this would probably be beneficial for pretty much any child, regardless of kind of what the situation is.
Once they get to be that sort of age of accountability and get a little bit more self-aware of who they are. And I think, as David said, just have the space in their life to reflect, because they don't take that, as they get older, as teenagers. And it's a forced way to reflect on where they are now and where they want to be. Which I've really appreciated.
Well, and I think to David's point earlier, it's really challenging as a parent. We really can't be the ones to delve into some of this with them. They kind of need that third party, that other person that they can, that trusted individual.
That voice of, and David's a voice of grace and compassion, but also of accountability, and asking the hard questions in a way that wouldn't come across the same from a parent.
Okay, well, great. So that sounds really awesome. I mean, your son sounds like he's on the right path. He's moving forward. He's got goals. He's got some ambitions and plans in place.
And self-aware and self-confidence that was struggling a little bit. He was failing a little bit when we moved here. So
well, and that's such a challenging time. I mean, I know I myself made a very big transition around that same age, moving from New Jersey to Florida, and it's a hard time. I mean, you're already going through so much with adolescents, so then to have to make a shift like that can be really traumatic. So I think it's really beneficial that he had a resource like David to help him through. That's great. So, I mean, I know that we went over all of this while David was on the show, but I do want to just reiterate to all of you out there that are watching or listening, I would really take advantage of listening to David's show, Walk This Way, on Blog Talk Radio. I myself, like I said, have listened to all 3 episodes that he has, or excuse me, 2 episodes so far, the 3rd one coming up, about the simple, curious questions. And I know as a parent, I'm looking forward to hearing that one to help open up some questions that I can talk to my 13-year-old about. And I think, that's probably one of the biggest things I'm hearing from parents is, how do I talk to my teen? I know I'm saying it myself. I mean, it seems like all of a sudden my beautiful little girl went from smiling and happy to see me to turning her, turning her head the other way. And, our conversations are down to 1 or 2 words. So I'm really looking forward to hearing that.
And how to help them with that future focus, it's hard to work that in, because they're so, like he was saying, so pressured of how much work they have to do today. To have to think about, 2 years from now, it's difficult. Yeah,
absolutely. So great. Well, again, guys, if you want to check out more information on David, you can go to his website, which is davidrouxcoaching.com. That's DAVIDROUX coaching.com. Or you can certainly go to my website, where I have a link to David's information on my resources page. And my website is Denise, DENISEM, Rezonya, REZSONYA.com. And that's all we have for you today, so we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.